Have you ever wondered if the mind has the power to heal? Many people believe so, but Sadhguru shares a truth that might surprise you. The mind is undeniably powerful, but relying solely on it to overcome challenges can be a trap. Have you ever tried thinking positively, only to see your problems persist? This happens because the real power of the mind goes way beyond just thoughts. What truly matters is the alignment between your inner state and your intentions. But how can you achieve that? How can you turn your mind into a powerful ally that works for your well-being instead of against you? Maybe you're carrying more than you realize: anger, frustration, or anxiety. All of these can prevent you from unlocking the true potential of your mind. In this video, with Sadhguru's help, you'll learn how making this shift can be simpler and more accessible than it seems. Are you ready to discover the true power of your mind? The mind is often seen as something uncontrollable, but Sadhguru reminds us that it's actually a dedicated employee. It's here to serve, not to dominate. Imagine an office where the boss loses control of the staff, letting them do whatever they want. It would be chaos, right? This is what happens when we let negative emotions like resentment and anger take over. These emotions not only erode our peace, but are like poison we drink, hoping others will suffer the consequences. When we reflect on this, we realize that the mind's power extends beyond merely producing thoughts. It directly impacts our daily life. If you find yourself dwelling on a grudge, ask yourself, who is really being harmed here? You can break this cycle. A simple practice would be daily meditation. It doesn't have to be complicated. Even 5 minutes of mindful breathing, as Sadhguru suggests, can help reorganize your thoughts and calm emotional storms. Remember, mastering the mind doesn't mean repressing feelings, but learning to guide it with wisdom. The same mind that can drag you down into frustration can also lift you to new heights. And here's the key: it's your employee, so put it to work for you. In the next part, we'll explore how the mind's power can affect the body physically and why it's important to care for the mind-body connection. What many people don't realize is that the mind has a deep impact on the body. Sadhguru points out that physical health can be directly influenced by thought patterns. If you're constantly stressed, anxious, or weighed down by negative emotions, your body will eventually pay the price. Ever heard someone say that worry gave them a stomach ache? This is psychosomatic influence in action, where the mind's power can cause real physical harm. However, when the damage has already manifested in the body, simply thinking positive might not be enough to reverse it. Positive thinking has its place, but it needs to be paired with appropriate medical care. Imagine someone with high blood pressure due to chronic stress. Sure, cultivating a calm mindset is essential, but it's also wise to follow a doctor's advice, adjust your diet, and perhaps even take the right medication. The mind's power helps, but it doesn't replace the practical actions needed for well-being. The key point here is to realize that the body responds to what the mind creates. A balanced approach is ideal. Work on the mind to reduce stress, learn to meditate, and at the same time, take care of your body with healthy habits. In the next section, we'll see how self-imposed mental suffering can be compared to the worst kind of torture and how it affects our lives. Sadhguru shares a powerful metaphor, comparing mental self-torture to the worst kind of torture possible. When we let the mind wander unchecked, diving into negative thoughts, it's like we're torturing a part of ourselves that has no escape. Imagine holding a hot object and deliberately hurting yourself with no way out. The mind in itself is helpless. It accepts whatever you throw at it. If you feed it fears, guilt, and frustrations, it simply absorbs it all, and over time, it starts to crumble. This is the real problem with self-torture. It's invisible, but devastating. If you catch yourself repeating old thought patterns that bring you down, it's time to stop and do something about it. How about starting with a simple gratitude exercise? Every day before bed, write down 3 things you're grateful for. It might seem simple, but this small habit can completely change the way you see life, helping to break the cycle of mental suffering that many people face without even realizing it. The mind's power here lies in its ability to free itself from the cycle of self-torture. You have the power to stop this process, to reverse the course, and to cultivate a lighter, clearer, and more friendly mind. Now imagine what could happen if you continue letting your mind sabotage you. In the next part, we'll explore the role of the mind in our lives and how it should work for our well-being, not against it. The mind, like any tool, has a clear purpose: to work for us, not against us. When we understand this, we can transform our reality. Think about how our emotions influence our day. If you start the morning getting upset over small inconveniences, like traffic or a minor argument, the rest of your day is tainted by that mental state. The mind's role is to ensure that these small challenges don't turn into huge internal storms. Instead, the mind should be the first to align with what you want to create in your day. To do this, it's essential to train it to focus on what really matters and dismiss what doesn't. But how can you train your mind to work in your favor? Small changes can have a big impact. One helpful practice is to intentionally set how you want to feel throughout the day. First thing in the morning, ask yourself, how do I want my mind to guide me today? This can be done with simple affirmations or reflections that reinforce the positive aspects you want to prioritize. A practical example: if you know you have a tough meeting at work, start the day by visualizing that situation with calm and balance rather than anxiety. This practice, repeated daily, creates a new mental path, and here lies the true power of the mind. It becomes your greatest resource for facing challenges with clarity. Moreover, it's important to remember that, like any relationship, the mind requires care. When left unchecked, it deteriorates, just like a neglected garden fills with weeds. This care can come in many forms, from meditation, which helps organize thoughts, to physical exercises that relieve stress and in turn clear the mind. Remember, the mind is your companion every step of the way. If you don't invest time and energy into nurturing it, it will start to work against you. Now, let's dive into the next point: how even the best intentions can be undermined by a disorganized mind. Having good intentions is undoubtedly admirable, but Sadhguru points out that these intentions can be sabotaged by a disturbed mental state. Imagine someone with a genuine desire to help a friend, but internally they're overwhelmed by frustration or anxiety. This internal imbalance shows up in subtle ways, like impatience in their words or irritability in their actions. Even though the original intention was to help, the final result can be the opposite. This shows us that the mind's power goes far beyond just wanting good things. It requires harmony between intention and emotional state. When this connection isn't well aligned, the impact can be disastrous. A clear example of this happens in personal relationships. How many times has someone tried to advise or guide a loved one, but they did so in a moment of anger or exhaustion? The message, no matter how positive, is distorted by negative emotions. The person may have the intention of helping, but the way the help is delivered ends up creating resentment or misunderstandings. What could have been useful advice turns into a source of conflict. To avoid this, an effective practice is to take a pause. Before any important conversation, take a deep breath, assess your internal state, and ask yourself, am I at peace to talk about this right now? This simple practice can transform the way your intentions are reflected in the world. Finally, the core idea here is that a person's internal state defines the quality of their actions. No matter how many good intentions you have, if your mind is overwhelmed by negative emotions, those intentions will always be diluted, creating results that may be harmful. The true power of the mind lies in its ability to transform this reality. When the mental state is healthy, actions become clear reflections of intentions. This makes us wonder, how often do we focus on aligning our minds with what we truly want to achieve? This is the key to living in harmony with who we are and what we aim to accomplish. The balance between what we feel and what we do is essential for personal success and happiness. Now that you know the true power of the mind, the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you keep letting negative thoughts govern your actions, or will you start transforming your life from the inside out? Remember, your mind is your greatest ally, but only if you know how to train it and align it with your well-being. Maybe the next step is simple. Adopt daily meditation practices. Reflect on your emotions before acting, or even take a break from the rush to better understand your internal state. What will you do to cultivate this harmony between your intentions and your mind? The change starts now, and it's up to you. If you like this content and want to keep learning more about the power of the mind, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way, you won't miss any new lessons that could transform your life.